saloons to graveyards where evil sleeps, they walk amongst secrets they keep. Nightmare hunters with souls ablaze, cleaning up this town through the dark haze. Of the night with eyes of red, vampires in the alleys where good men dread, wolfmen howling beneath the pale moon, but justice is coming and coming soon. From saloons to graveyards where evil sleeps, they walk among us, they keep. Nightmare hunters with souls ablaze, cleaning up this town through the dark haze. Cryptids themselves, yet they stand tall against the darkness, answering the call for every lost soul, every whispered prayer. They fight for the light in the midnight air. Dark haze. The night is young, the hunt begins. For against the darkness where hope never ends.
Good evening, folks, and thank you all for joining us on another Monday Mayhem. You got me and Robbie in the house tonight, and we're looking forward to starting Chapter 8 with you guys. Robbie, how the hell you doing, brother?
Doing good. How are you?
Oh, a little tired today. I've been a little low on energy all day. I've got a big old cup of coffee here, so hoping that kick starts things a little bit, but just been dragging butt all day. Can't explain it.
You'll have that. I'm good. Finished up my training this morning, and I'm off until next Monday. So, yeah, I'm doing really good. You're muted, DA.
What the hell was happening?
I don't know.
I was answering in another window. I was saying hi, folks, and it just went crazy. Folks, if I haven't had a chance to say hi to you in the chat yet, I'm trying, but chat's moving pretty fast. So, Robbie, you got big plans for Turkey Day?
Nah, probably just going to sit around the house, work on stuff.
We're kind of having multiple Turkey Days here. We're going to have with my son and his wife at their house on Thursday, my oldest son, Nathan. And then he's going to his in-laws at night. And then Noah's going with his girlfriend. And then we're going to do another one on Friday for just us. So it's kind of crazy. But, it'll all work out. Folks, we'll still have a show on Wednesday like normal. But we're kind of playing it by ear for next week's Monday Mayhem. Robbie may not be available. And if he's not going to be available, I'm probably not going to be able to do it alone. It'd be real tough for me to, monitor chat and answer questions and still type. Probably wouldn't get anything done.
Casey, that would be a little bit of a drive, but thank you.
Good coffee. Arlen says, I just entered the name of the swords. Awesome. I'll check that out. Nice. Okay. You remember where we ended off?
No. And you asked me because you don't remember either.
Well, I do. Pretty sure we did a full chapter last week.
Yeah, we finished the chapter, but I don't remember exactly. We were getting ready to, because that's why you asked them to come up with sword names. So we were getting ready to.
Yeah, we're getting ready to start that chapter. But before
But
we do,
I know they were marching out because that's how we finished that chapter. Was they got false information?
Yep. But before we jump into reading that, I just want to take a second and thank everybody again for us hitting 10K. We had a great show on Saturday night. We gave away a bunch of stuff. I should be getting everything mailed out tomorrow. Today was kind of nuts. I didn't get a whole lot done other than running errands. But I should be at the post office tomorrow mailing out everybody's books. I believe I've got everybody's addresses. Wyatt, if you're listening, I'm probably just going to hang on to yours because I'm going to try to hook up with you this coming weekend because I would like to go back to Combs Ferry this weekend if you're available, and I owe you a hat anyway. So if we can get hooked up, this week, like I said, I'd like to go back into Combs Ferry now that things have cooled off a little bit. And I'll just hand deliver yours if that's the case. But everybody else, I should get those all mailed out tomorrow. And the only thing that would delay it is if I just don't have a copy of the book you wanted, which I think I've got everything except for Devil the Absarokas. And if anybody wanted one of those, they're not going to be here till like December 6th. I just checked today. I ordered them about a week ago. And the funny thing is if you go on Amazon, if you went on Amazon right now and ordered Kodiak, Robbie's new book, which is an awesome book, by the way, you should check it out. But if you went right there and ordered a print copy of Kodiak, Amazon would print it and ship it to you probably the same day. You'd have it within 2 or 3 days. But as an author, if Robbie went and ordered, say, a dozen copies of Kodiak so he could have them to take them to a convention or something, they would hem and haw around and not get those things printed for at least 2 weeks. And then you got to wait on shipping.
Yep. I ordered my copies of Kodiak the day it became available, and I still haven't got them.
That's what I did with Devil the Absarokas. I ordered a box of them, and they ain't even shipped yet. I ordered those the day they came out, and they ain't shipped yet.
Yeah, neither is Kodiak.
I love that crap.
It said they're supposed to be here next week sometime, but they still haven't shipped or anything yet. So
mine's saying estimated between December 3rd and December 6th. So fingers crossed. But I'm pretty sure nobody asked for the new one. I don't know if I had to go check the emails again. But I'm going to get everything all printed out and laid out tonight. And then tomorrow morning when I get up, I'm going to head up to the post office and get all those mailed out. Again, except for yours, Wyatt. I plan on us hooking up so I can give it to you in person since you just live an hour away, and maybe we can get into Combs Ferry, which would be very nice. I'd like to get back in there with my DSLR and take a bunch more pictures. Now that things have cooled off, we might be able to find some interesting stuff, and we won't be swallowing a pound of bugs every time we breathe. Yeah. Let's see. Any questions anybody had there? Arlen, Caliburn and Excalibur is the same sword. Caliburn is just the Celtic version of Excalibur. Those others are pretty cool though. But yeah, I thought you might want to know that Caliburn and Excalibur are the same sword. Seeing if I missed anything else. Wyatt, I'm thinking, if we can get in there, especially with enough light to still see by, I think we could probably get in there and get some good pictures. If nothing else, we can go out there and see what kind of signs of activity we've got. If nothing else. Wish Robbie was with us because he's going to be able to read those tracks a lot better than I am.
Yeah,
I can get by, but no, Robbie's much better at it than I am. But anywho, I will go ahead and read that last chapter because I'm pretty sure that's right where we'd started anyway. We began that chapter. And now we're at almost 20,000 words with this. So this thing's coming right along. Chapter 7, Fate of the Ninth. 14 Martius, Eberacum Citadel. Gideon watched as one of the older centurions questioned the prisoner they'd captured during the first attack. Although the prisoner had resisted all questioning up until now, this time he was beginning to show signs of breaking. The senior centurion had the man tied to a table with his legs and arms bound in multiple places, preventing him from moving more than a few inches at a time. Then, once secured, the centurion walked to a bucket in the corner. Last chance, cautioned the centurion. Tell me what we want to know, or things will get much worse for you. Go to hell, hissed the prisoner. You first, replied the centurion calmly. Then he removed a length of wood from the bucket. It was carved into a round shaft which had softened in a brine solution. The centurion studied it carefully for a moment before walking to the end of the table. The prisoner craned his neck, trying desperately to see what was about to happen. Despite his attempts, he could see nothing beyond a few inches from his face. Ready? Asked the centurion, nodding to Gideon. Gideon nodded once and set his jaw solidly for what was coming next. The centurion took a step back, then brought the wooden club into a wide swing as he stepped into the blow. The smack of soft wood on flesh rang out as the centurion drove the weapon into the soles of his feet. Crack! The man screamed in pain, but the onslaught was far from over. 3 more smacks rang out as the centurion struck repeatedly, leaving the man in a puddle of his own making and whimpering like a wounded animal. Ready? Asked the centurion. Bastard! Screamed the man. Smack! Another blow struck the bottoms of his feet. The man lost control of his bowels. Smack! This time the man vomited, and one of the soldiers had to force his head to the side to keep him from drowning in his own sick. Smack! The man's body shivered involuntarily, and he went slack in the restraints. Wake him, ordered the centurion. A bucket of cold water was thrown on his face and brought the unconscious man back to reality. He was sputtering and groaning in pain. I'll ask you again, heathen, snapped the centurion. Tell me your plans and who is responsible. The man was silent for a moment, and his body was racked with quiet sobs. Then the centurion placed the club back into the brine and drew another one. Very well, muttered the centurion. Ready? As he prepared to swing again, the man screamed, No, he whined, for the love of the gods, no. Then talk, snapped the centurion. And talk he did. He began telling every piece of information he knew. Everyone in the room listened intently, and scribes wrote furiously, taking down every detail. Gideon listened in silence. He wasn't in favor of torture, but in this case, he'd been overruled. And as the primus pilus, he was required to be here. After the man finished speaking, he was cut loose from the bindings and dragged unceremoniously back to the cell. Gideon frowned as he watched because something in the back of his head kept telling him that something wasn't right. We have everything we asked for and more, Primus, said the centurion proudly. Bring the scribe's notes, said Gideon. It's time to brief the legatus. You seem hesitant, sir, said the centurion. Was I not thorough enough in my interrogation? No, you were fine, replied Gideon. Something vexes me, though. Did that not seem too easy? I mean, he's been questioned for 2 weeks now, and suddenly he breaks. No man can withstand that, said the centurion. The bottom of the feet causes massive pain. That's why it's so useful. Perhaps, said Gideon. It all seems so sudden to me. Why break now? Why not before? Were the methods used before so weak by comparison? No, sir, replied the centurion. The methods used were all proven. He was able to withstand them. Perhaps he merely reached his breaking point. All men have one. Indeed, replied Gideon. They most certainly do. But I'm a cautious man. We shall see what the legatus decides based on this information. Moments later, they arrived at the door of the legatus legionis. Gideon knocked and was immediately acknowledged. Come, snapped the legatus. Gideon opened the door and found the Legatus Legionis and the Tribunus Lataclavius. Gideon controlled his rising dislike of both men. "Report," said the Legatus. "The prisoner has spoken," said Gideon. "We brought you his statements." Gideon handed over the notes and waited for them to read without interruption. Once they were finished, the Legatus leaned back in his chair and smiled. "With this information," he said smugly, "we can crush the northern tribes once and for all." Gideon frowned. "You do not believe that?" asked the Tribunus. "I have my reservations," replied Gideon. I felt like the prisoner broke too easily." "Were the methods used effectively?" asked the Tribunus. "They were," replied the Centurion. "They would appear so," added Gideon. "However, I still feel like it was too easy." "Nonsense," said the Legatus. He's been interrogated for weeks. He finally broke. They always break." Gideon frowned, but didn't press the issue. "What are your orders, sir?" asked Gideon. "We must act on this information rapidly," replied the Legatus. "If we hesitate, we'll miss this opportunity to strike. How often do all of their leaders gather like this?" "Not often, I would say. We must strike now." Gideon bit his lip. Neither of these men were professional soldiers and had no idea what it was they were about to order the Legion to do. "Your orders, sir?" said Gideon hesitantly. In his mind, he might have said "sir," but that wasn't what he meant. "Ready the cohorts, Quintus," said the Legatus. "We ride north at first light. It's time these pagans learned the might of the Roman legion." Gideon snapped a crisp salute, then turned on his heel and headed for the door. "Oh, and Quintus," said the Legatus, "I want one cohort to remain behind to guard the citadel. You choose which one." "Of course, sir," said Gideon, walking out without looking back. The Centurion followed him and matched his pace, but remained silent, sensing Gideon's dark mood. Once they reached the courtyard, Gideon turned to the Centurion. "Wake the Centurions and senior officers," instructed Gideon. "Inform them we ride north at dawn. I want all cohorts ready to march." "Who will be guarding the citadel?" asked the Centurion. "Cohort 7 will remain behind," said Gideon. "They're the shortest in manpower. They can protect the citadel and make sure we have a place to fall back to." "You expect this to go poorly for us?" asked the Centurion. "We're just talking about pagan rabble. They cannot stand against the might of the Legion." "You have an entire graveyard just outside that gate that might argue that point," snapped Gideon. "Only a fool underestimates their enemy and is content in their own strength. Armies that forget that are wiped out." "Yes, sir," replied the Centurion. "Now go," said Gideon. "We have a lot of work to do and not a lot of time to get it done. We must issue provisions and equipment to every cohort and have them ready to march before dawn. Time is wasting." While the Centurion raced off to carry out his orders, Gideon went to the battlements and climbed to where he could see over the wall. He gazed off into the cool night air, listening to the sounds of the night and looking at the stars. In the distance, the baying of a pack of wolves was answered by at least 3 others. "Ragan, I hope you made it," whispered Gideon. "The fate of us all rests in your hands." Gideon stood in silence for a long moment before turning to head back down to the courtyard. As he turned, he found Claudius standing quietly waiting for him. "Claudius," said Gideon with a smile. "Or should I say Centurion?" "Thank you, sir," said Claudius. "Something vexes you, sir?" "Yes, it does," replied Gideon. "You feel we marched north too soon?" said Claudius. Gideon noted it wasn't a question. "I do," replied Gideon. "You think marching north is a mistake?" whispered Claudius, careful to keep his voice from traveling. "Yes," said Gideon. "As do I," replied Claudius. "I wasn't at the interrogation, but I've been to the others. The prisoner laughed when they put him to the lash." "I was at this one," said Gideon. "He broke fast. Only a few strokes of the club. Yet his performance was quite convincing." "You think he broke on purpose?" asked Claudius. "Maybe," replied Gideon. "The real question is in the timing. I feel like he was buying enough to set a trap," finished Claudius. "Exactly," said Gideon. "If this is a trap, we must be prepared to fight our way clear." "We shall be," Claudius said confidently. "And Claudius," added Gideon, "let's keep this between ourselves for now. We must be alert or we will fall." "Of course, sir," replied Claudius. "This need not be said." "Gather your men and draw supplies," instructed Gideon. "Take extra pilum and instruct the archers to carry extra arrows." "Understood," said Claudius. "And an extra ration of Posca," added Gideon. "We're going to be marching hard and fast." "Yes, sir," said Claudius. "Anything else?" "That's all for now," replied Gideon. "I'm moving your cohort up in the line. You'll be right behind mine." Claudius nodded, and he headed for the barracks. It would be light in a few hours, and they had a lot of work to finish. May God be with us all, whispered Gideon. Then the camp exploded into activity. Every cohort was in motion, pulling extra equipment, rations, and supplies for the march. Packs were placed on the ground where the units would form up with their scutum shields placed against their packs. Gideon was pleased with the speed and the efficiency of the Legion. Even this Legion, with its inexperienced command officers, still moved like the Legion should. Gideon frowned as they moved. He only hoped that he'd had enough time as the Primus Pilus to restore the discipline and order that the Legion needed to survive. Soon they'd be marching north into Caledonia. The Dalriata might be their only allies once they departed the Citadel, and even that was questionable once they marched north. Battle calls, whispered Gideon, and we shall answer. As the first rays of light were breaking over the eastern horizon, the 9th Legion was assembled and ready to march. Only Cohort 7 was to remain behind to hold the Citadel. Gideon felt like leaving them was a mistake, but orders were orders, and the Legion lived and died by its orders. Forma ad signa, bellowed Gideon. As a unit, the cohorts fell into formation. Ad augmine, snapped Gideon. The ranks split and formed into marching columns. Moveo, Gideon roared. The gates to the citadel rumbled open, and as one, the legion began marching. Only the Legatus Legionis and the Tribunus Lataclavius were mounted. Gideon had chosen to march with his men. Signe sequite, called Gideon. The 9th locked into step behind the standard bearer and the Vexillium. The 9th Legion was going north. Okay, and that's where we're going to start this next chapter. Any thoughts, comments, suggestions, things that maybe I think we might have to change? Any thoughts, folks, before we get started on the next? I need to find a cloth to clean my glasses. So much crap on my desk, it's hard to find anything. I've got to clean up my office. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Alrighty, that's better. Were corgis needs were corgis. That'd be Doc as a werewolf, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's bring the screen up. All right. This chapter is going to be called Wayland's Forge. 8 Martius, village of Balakulish. So, how are we going to start this chapter out? What do y'all think? Hey, Dorothy, we're going live at 7 p.m. now on all the shows. We had to change the time for the other two for on X, so we just went ahead and made sure all of them were at the same time. It's easier on Robbie too, so he can go to bed at an earlier hour since he has to get up early. But this week it wouldn't have been so bad.
Well, wouldn't have mattered this week.
How do we want to start this one? What do you think, Robbie?
I'd say we probably need, since we left Reagan in a kind of a funk.
In a bad place?
Yeah. We'll need to kind of check in with him, and because I can't remember, was she taking him straight to Wayland, or was she taking him somewhere else? I can't. That's.
Let's roll back and take a look.
Because I know he was in the back of Rhiannon's wagon, but I can't remember where she was taking him to.
I don't think we said.
Okay. So I'd say we probably need to address that and not just pop in with
Probably.
him talking to Waylon like nothing
Yeah.
happened. Wound.
Oops.
Nick, we already had Rhiannon come pick him up in the wagon. That's where he was. Cormac and them had already put him in the back of her wagon.
Why did it go quiet? Robbie, can you hear me? Anybody hear me? Either Robbie locked up or I locked up. I think it was Robbie. Yeah, you guys can hear me? Okay. Well, I guess Robbie must have locked up because I could hear like a little bit of background noise coming from Robbie's mic. And then suddenly it just went quiet. And I looked up and he was frozen. There he is.
What happened?
I don't know. You just froze up.
I was still moving on my screen. You froze up. So,
I could hear like a little bit of like background noise from your mic, just I don't know, like maybe like a fan or something, just something soft. And then all of a sudden it went quiet, and I looked up and you were frozen. I'm like, what the heck?
Mm.
Mm.
But we always have these problems when we're on this platform. So. Let's see. Hey, we're over 20,000 words now. Just broke. Yep.
Hell yeah.
I can just barely see.
Trying to think of where I want to go now. What do you guys think? Robbie, how long would it take to produce a sword like that by hand, the old way?
The old way, probably months, if not more.
And to produce 7 swords is going to take a while.
Yeah, because especially if you're talking about they're doing it by. I'm assuming you're talking about they're doing it, heating the metal up and liquefying it and pouring it in the molds.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to do that, then you have to pour it in the molds, and you have to bring them up to heat again and hand forge them, and then heat treating and tempering, and that's hard to do with modern. I mean, because I've messed countless blades up because you get it too hot or you don't get it hot enough, and have to start over and requench it, and it's because with modern stuff, what, especially if you got a modern heat treating oven, it'll tell you what temperature it is. Back then, all they could do is watch the color of the blade. It's they didn't have magnets to stick see if it was hotter than magnetic to know when it was quenched. Plus, they didn't have quenching oil. That all they had was water. And
I read one article once that they believe why Viking steel was so unique was that it wasn't quenched in oil; it was quenched in blood.
Well, they used what they called bog steel, which was, and that's even a longer process than what you're talking there. It's kind of like the Tamahagati metal that the Japanese did, which is bloom steel.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing the iron out of the earth. It's kind of the same thing. There was only a certain time of the year that they could gather it. But they would have to gather it, and then they would have to heat it up in these little, basically, they're probably about that big around and probably yay tall. They'd have to put it in there and heat it and constantly work the billows. And once you started it, you couldn't stop. And you have to keep it at a constant temperature for a certain amount of time to be able to smelt the ore into usable ingots. Well, not ingots, basically, but basically a bloom, which gets the name bloom steel. And then they had to constantly work that, and they had to work it with a lot of wooden hammers, because if you used metal hammers on it in that stage, a lot of times it would just break apart. So that's an extra added probably 20 or 30 hours of hammering it with a wooden hammer just to forge it together, which is that's where a lot of the Damascus, the pattern welded forged steel come from, was doing stuff like that's where you get the pattern welding, or the patterns that come out in Damascus. So it's a long process making a sword like that by hand. From even if you had an ingot that you made, you're still, once you've got that, you're still looking at probably weeks, if not months, from the time they started. Like most Japanese masters, it would take them anywhere from 6 months to a year to forge a katana like that by hand.
Yeah, I knew it was a lengthy process. If so they were, these aren't going to be done in time to save the 9th.
If you were making just like quick down and dirty blades, just for like that they were going to a big battle, they could probably turn out 3 or 4 swords, maybe 5 in a month if they had more than one blacksmith going. One blacksmith making swords like that. Now, you got to say that Waylon was a master, obviously.
Yeah.
So he's probably done it more and got a process refined and perfected. So you probably can shave some time off that. If you're asking if we can make this believable, I would say he could probably get maybe 1 or 2 swords done in time for Reagan to get them to the Legion, but as far as getting all 7 done, how much time are we talking?
Don't know.
I'd say realistically, you could probably, with somebody of his caliber, and I'm sure he's got
Apprentices
with him, and there's probably other guys in the village that probably know a little bit about, because that was the thing about people that you had a master smith, obviously, but some people couldn't afford to go to a master smith, so they had to know how to do some stuff like that on their own. So if you got a big important project like that, I'm sure it was kind of all hands on deck. So let's say realistically, he could probably get 2 swords done within maybe 2 weeks. Is that realistic enough for you? Or
I might have something. I'm working on something idea. Somebody said. K Bauer says, DA, that's why I was saying be made in a divine type way, like the gods in this case help make them. I was thinking maybe some interference.
But with our universe, we've already set that in, so that's already believable. So you could have that, and here's the thing, that a lot of times they work night and day on these things. And I know Lene said, wouldn't he have he would not have other master bladesmiths working with him, but he would have plenty of apprentices that were probably on the level of some other, but not. He would probably be the only master smith within a good, because that was the whole thing. You didn't have 3 or 4 master smiths, because that kind of drove your profit margin down. If you had 4 or 5 guys around within walking distance, that's just not how it worked back then. You had one smith that was the guy, so to speak. But I would say having some divine intervention would probably be we've got werewolves, for crying out loud. Who's gonna bat an eyelash at some divine intervention? So real world answer, no. Our world answer, yes. It can be done. That
round the clock is be the wrong phrase.
Yeah. Day and night would probably be, or and for something like that, of that scope, with what the money that Reagan was paying, that would be believable. That would even be a real world scenario, I would think, in a situation like that.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, because that's another big thing that, because you got to have somebody working the bellows. It ain't like they got a coal forge or that's just lit. You got to, because they don't have, electricity to power a blower. So you got to have somebody constantly working in bellows. And a lot of times, you would have if a smith didn't have an apprentice, which is rare, but that did happen, they would have to pump the bellows and get it going, and then work it, then go back and work the bellows again, keep it going, go back and check it. So you got to always have somebody working the bellows while they're checking the heat, because if with a coal forge like that, it can get really hot really quick. I've melted tips off of knives on charcoal or coal forges, because if you got constant air going to it like that, it'll get really hot really quick, and you can burn or melt steel really quick if you ain't careful. So that's that's definitely a 2-man job if you got something like that going on. So I would say that's very, very plausible and realistic the way you wrote that.
Trying to think where to go with that. How's that sound?
Yeah, I mean that you got 4 masters and 9 apprentices, so you got enough people that if you pour it all set, because that's the thing, as soon as those things are poured, you're gonna have a time that you can work them once they're solidified enough, because you're gonna have to wait for them to solidify and pull them out, but you can still work them for a little bit before you have to put them back in the furnace to get them back up to working temperature again. So I'd say, yeah, if they got all the metal melted in one go, then they were able to pour them all. That's plausible. Yep. And that too, if you're doing it if you're pouring a mold and having the cross pieces and all that stuff in one solid piece, then that's going to save time too, because you're not having to take the time to forge separate cross pieces and all that stuff. So really all they've got to do is work in the bevels and then handles, and that cuts down on time doing it that way.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that's accurate then, because frankly, I was just pulling it out of my butt.
Well, I mean, if you're pouring a mold like that, I mean, think back to the Conan movie when they were doing that. That's how they. That's probably where you got that.
Probably.
Obviously, though, he made a cross piece for the one in the Schwarzenegger version. But if you're making,
God dang it, now I got to watch that again.
but if you're they're integrated and you got an integral cross piece that's not a separate piece, that's going to save a lot of time. And putting the shard of the Spear of Destiny inside that cross piece and letting it integrate into it, it's not only going to stay in that cross piece, it's going to flow throughout the rest of that sword too. I mean, if it's all one mold and you put it right there where the cross piece is, when it melts out, it's going to mix with all the rest of that metal. So technically, it's going to go through the whole sword. Okay, so would forges big enough? Whose swords be common, or is that? If you're asking about now, you have to get at least a 3 or 4 burner forge to do something like a sword. I've seen people take 2 burner forges and put them end to end to make a forge big enough. But back then, it wasn't a forge like we think of nowadays, like a steel box that you put. And it was usually a big. They would stack bricks or rocks or whatever, and insulate it with clay, and basically like a big grill. And you would put your coal inside that and heat it, and it would have a place for the bellows to go in, where when you pump the air in, it would fire the coal. So yeah, they would have plenty of big enough forges back then, because that's all. I mean, they didn't really make smaller knives. I mean, they did, but that wasn't what their bread and butter is. Like most blacksmiths do today, it's knives. Swords and spears were what they made, so they needed bigger forges. So most of their forges were big enough to accommodate stuff like that, and they could make smaller knives and stuff in those forges. It was just. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it does. But I'm already thinking laterally. Okay, so we're assuming that magic's still a thing here. It hasn't like faded away. Okay. Okay.
And Long Queen, yeah, you're right. A integral sword like that, it's all one piece, would be stronger than one that had a cross piece that was fixed on, because they would more than likely they would peen it on, so you would have whatever that connection, whether it be mechanical friction or whatever, would be your only strength. But if it's made into one piece, then the strength is the whole entire blade. Yeah, because traditionally dwarves were considered master blacksmiths. I was wondering if that's where it was going.
I figured, what the hell? Why not?
So that's Balkus's
Great
dad,
grandfather.
great grandfather. Oh, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one that the armor belonged to.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, he's watching Wazowski.
Always watching Wazowski. That's a cool tie-in.
What the heck? Yeah, they wouldn't call them Vikings back then. They'd have just known them as Northmen.
Yep. Okay, I say with everything you just put in, I'd say now that it's feasible to get the swords done in your time frame
With the dwarves.
with the dwarves and all the other. Yeah, if this was just Waylon, nah, it'd take probably a year to get all those swords done right. But now I'd say you could get it done in a time frame. It'd be believable and plausible. I would say that Waylon should be working specifically on Caliber and Excalibur, and then you can have the others kind of lined out from other people and just tie Waylon in specifically to Excalibur. That'd
Okay.
be my suggestion. Since
What do you guys think? You think you like the tie-in, or should I take that out?
pretty much everybody's saying that nice and they love the tie-in.
Hey, man, more of those little tie-ins that tie the universe together.
Yep. Let's see. We've tied in Heart of Iron. We've tied in Howl the Night Wolf. We've tied in Grail. Obviously, we've already tied in Wild Hunt and everything else with this being Gideon's story, and Dark Frontiers by having Steve be the one he's telling the story to. So we've tied most all of our major titles in, with the exception of Apex Predator.
Well, those connect at least adjacently.
Right. I'm just saying, as far as a direct tie-in, that's the only one we haven't directly tied in.
Well, actually, we kind of did, because Gideon first appeared in an Apex Predator series.
That's true. Yeah.
His first appearance was in Apex Predator 2, Blood Moon.
Yep. Well, Gideon's a linchpin character anyway, so I mean, he
Sure.
technically ties in every one of our books, because he's literally been mentioned in every one of our main
Hey,
series.
Luca's in the house tonight.
Luca.
Hey, Luca. Miss LeMay, you put up Luca's link Folks, if you guys enjoy the kind of stuff me and Robbie are doing, you're definitely going to enjoy Luca's. Um, check out all Luca's books. She just released a new one. Folks, she's a hell of a writer, very talented, very prolific. She kind of puts me and Robbie to shame. I mean, the two of us can't keep up with her, let alone either one of us on our own. But she's a hell of a writer. She got some great books. And she did the covers for my most recent book and Robbie's last couple books, and they are fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah,
they are very, very good.
She's done all of mine exclusively since Shadow Walkers 3.
So you guys can find all of her books on Amazon.com or lucatjacobs.com. So definitely check those out. Anytime, Luca. We're happy to have it. Speaking of Luca, we need to get her back on the show.
Yep.
I want to get her, and not necessarily at the same time, but her and Heath both back on, because Heath's got a new book to promote too. I was talking to him the other night, and he's like, "Let me know when you want me, brother." She writes cryptid stories like us, Richie. Same genre.
Yep.
Her Nicole Beretti series is awesome.
Yeah, we just need to tie Nicole into our universe somehow. Hint, hint, Luca. Hint, hint.
Okay, now, where should we go from here? We're already after the first hour.
Yep.
Kay Bauer says, if ever there's a movie for the Wild Hunt, the very first time Gideon is seen, the Beach Boys song I Get Around should be playing. That would be funny. Where do we want to go from here?
Do you want to leave Balric as just a line right there? Do you want to have him have any kind of interaction?
Richie says, question DA, what's your favorite book that she did and you loved? Dude, I don't know if I can pick out a favorite. The Beretti books are all awesome. I haven't read the newest one. I just haven't had time to read it. I'm sure I'm going to like it though. But
Rogue's my favorite so far.
Rogue is damn good. Rogue is damn good. I don't know, Richie. I would probably just start at the beginning because I think you're going to like all of them.
Yeah.
I haven't read one I didn't like. So, do we want to include the dwarves as characters? What do you guys think? Should we work the dwarves in, or
because if you want to work them in, I got
mention just enough.
Because if you want to work them in, I got an idea. I don't know how to work, but
what do you think?
I'm thinking if you want to have him have interaction, since Reagan said we must thank these strangers, and we know Reagan's going to play, or at least his family line is going to play a big part coming down the. I say yes, Luca. That would be awesome. But what I'm thinking is Balric could come specifically to talk to Reagan, since Reagan's kind of on the mends right now, and they could have because obviously Balric's going to have a lot more.
Oh, the King's Blood flower. Give him the King's Blood flower.
Well, yeah, that would be something good. But I was going to say he could have a conversation with him, and he could kind of maybe start giving him some insight as some of the stuff that's going to be happening, and then Reagan could relay that to Gideon, and that could be how Gideon knows some of the things that he's going to need to know. And it could also explain why he wasn't too shocked in Dyatlov Pass or Heart of Iron when he was there, and because he kind of already knew what was going to happen.
So, in the book, when Balric's ghost spoke to Balkus, he said, "Hear me words, Balkus, son of Balcor, son of Baldag, son of Balgar, son of Balagast," meaning he's at least 4 generations from Balric.
Mm-hmm.
At least 4.
Yep.
So, assuming that Balric's son is Balagast, that would make Balkus his, let's see, be son, grandson, great-grandson, great-great-grand, 3 times great-grandfather. And that would make about make sense. I mean, according to Tolkien's lore, who's kind of the benchmark for pretty much anything to do with fantasy, as far as I'm concerned, dwarves lived 400 or 500 years. So
Yeah.
that'd be 3 or 4 generations. Weird how that fits. I started writing that scene from Heart of Iron like 5 years ago. It was one of those projects I just kind of stuck on a back burner and forgot about. So the whole, all Balkus, son of Balgors, all of that was written years ago before any of this was even thought of.
What we say, it's almost like it was meant to be.
Crazy, isn't it? Okay. me get the full poem. I'll just copy it. I'm not gonna write it out because I'm not sure. How did that?
Yeah, I was just about to say, what in the world happened?
I have to fix this real fast. Won't take but a minute. Apparently, I somehow managed to screw everything up. I don't know what the hell I did.
Cyber monkeys again.
God dang it. This thing's being a pain in the butt. Why is it doing this?
I bet you what it's doing is because you copied it from Heart of Iron and it was in a different font. It's screwing it up because I've run into that problem before too. It's more of freaking Microsoft Office or Word wanting to do its own thing.
I think I got it fixed. Why is this offset now? There, I think I finally got it figured out. God dang. That thing went crazy. Okay, I think it's fixed. No, we're not playing Dungeons and Dragons, although I do. I haven't played in a long time, but God dang it, I cannot type.
We put once he was gone.
Good catch. Roxanne says and, not and. Where did I?
I don't know.
Oh, I found it. Found it, Roxanne. Thank you. Ugh. What do you think, Robbie? Where should we go next?
Probably good to check in on the swords. We spent a lot of time on.
I think I'm going to make this instead of just the next day. I'm going to change it. Let's see, that would have been the 17th. Let's make it. Reagan was out for a few days. We'll just say that. So the 20th of
Yep.
instead of just the 17th, he will put Reagan out for a few days, which means they've been working on these swords for a bit.
Yeah. So maybe have the next day him be strong enough to get up and walk because of the king's blood, and then him and Cormac can go check on the swords.
Yeah. Yeah.
When he, not we.
Yep, good catch. Hey, do you mind? I don't know. Here, let me take this down for a second. You mind keeping things going for a minute? I've got to go address the diuretic.
On Bible study, it wouldn't be possible for him to give him, because Gideon only gave him 7 pieces, and all 7 pieces are already put into the swords, so it wouldn't be possible for a piece to get, unless that's something that had already happened. But I would assume, Nick, that there's going to be some dwarfish banter once we get to that part. What are y'all thinking so far? Y'all liking it? Yep, I'm thinking it's pretty good too, Toshi. Nick says we add dwarfs, it's good. Yeah, that just kind of came out of nowhere, but it's tying everything in, I think. And he's back.
I'm back. It's about 11 million degrees back here in this office today. Whew.
Yes, Northwood. 7 swords, and there's. Did you say there were 7 dwarves, or did you just say dwarf? I didn't think you said a
I
number.
don't think I said 7.
That is funny if that was the case. But he just said the dwarves. He didn't say there was 7 of them. And one of them's named Balric, so there's at least
It's a total of 6 dwarves.
no sleepy, sneezy, happy, or whatever else.
No, but we do have a dock.
True. And he is about dwarf size, so.
Bible study says, hi ho, hi ho. Wrong dwarves. These are not the Disney dwarves, trust me.
Why so, Chris?
What's a bit much for one chapter? Lima Lima. So it's
That,
a bit
that
much for one chapter, methinks. Perhaps a little muddied. It's a grand story, but a bit much too fast. What's too much too fast? They really haven't done much. Reagan's just healing.
yeah. We haven't even really talked about the swords other than the people coming in. You gonna bring Scream back up?
Oh yeah, I probably ought to, shouldn't I? I'm just typing away, fat, dumb, and happy. What?
Hmm.
What are you chuckling at?
I wasn't chuckling. Right?
Oh, I thought you were laughing at something.
Mm-mm. You said how that be?
Oops.
Yes, Bible study. I think you're right. Gideon would be a couple days into his march at this point, right, Da?
Yeah. Probably about 3 days in. All right, now we're going to need those swords, those sword names.
Well, we already know Caliburn is one of them.
Hang on. Okay. Big honking two-handed sword. What should we call this one?
Let's see. Let me roll back up. But Toshi, you had some good ones. He's got, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Gearan, meaning fang. Storm, Tine, meaning firestorm. And Marai, MacTire, meaning wolf slayer. That might be a good one for that one. Since he
That one's kind of good. I kind of like that.
it's Marai with the little thing after the I, then Mac, and then Tire. That means wolf slayer.
Let's see if I can find it because I'm going to have to probably copy it so I can get the umlaut.
It's just a little ways back up. It's not far.
See if I can find it. What does Caliburn mean?
Hang on, I'll check because I'm not 100% sure. Caliburn is another name for Arthur's legendary sword, often considered earlier version of Excalibur. Comes from the Latin word Chalybs, meaning steel, and symbolizes kinship and authority.
How about that?
Hold on, I'm trying to find it again.
It symbolizes steel and kinship and authority. So I just said Caliburn means steel of kings.
That's cool. Or Steel of King or King Steel, either one. But I think Steel of Kings is a little bit better.
Durandal's the sword that later is in the hands of
One of the brothers. What's their names? I can't think of their last names. Say
The Giovanni's.
Giovanni's.
Yeah,
I was gonna say
Father
the
Giovanni's got it.
I was gonna say the Da Vinci brothers, but knew that wasn't right. What does that mean? Somebody asked if one of them was going to be Davidson's sword, one of his swords he carries.
Well, I don't think I've ever named his sword.
Well, we talked about naming it in my book, or in my Grail series, but we hadn't got to it yet.
Well, if it's the sword we were talking about it being, then no, this would not be one of them.
And I haven't done that yet, but I was planning on doing that. So
I think we ought to go with that.
with what we talked about,
Yeah.
good, because it's going to come up in the next Grail book. Not this one coming out, but the one after that. So he gets his from another source.
Now, there really was a swordsmith named Wayland.
Mm-hmm.
But in the TV series Robin of Sherwood, they used a version, because the original Wayland is spelled the way I spelled it, Weyland. But in the series Robin of Sherwood, they called it Wayland, Wayland. And according to that series, he forged 7 swords, which, again, we're going with, but none of them are any of the ones we're using. The first one was called Flauros, a demon known for the destruction and chaos. That's what it was called. The next one was Morax, a demon associated with wisdom and knowledge. Apparently, these were all bound to spirits. Solus, a spirit linked to sun and light. Orias, a demon connected to divination and astrology. Albion, a name with deep roots in British mythology, symbolizing the ancient identity of England. Elidor, a spirit tied to hidden knowledge and secrets. And Beleth, a powerful demon associated with love and passion. We're not tying any of these to demons, so this is where we're going to really heavily differentiate from Robin of Sherwood. But Wayland was a sword maker sometime back in English history. There's a lot of dispute on when it was. Was it during the Middle Ages? Was it around the time of Robin Hood? Was it even before then? So we're taking some liberties with the actual time frame, but there may have been more than one sword maker named Wayland.
Yep. What was the name of the sword that laid on there was a sword that laid at the center of the round table that had all their names. I've got a copy of that sword right over there, but
Is that the Siege Perilous?
Hang on, let me get it so you can see what I'm talking about.
We're not going to call it Andy Roll. I don't want to get sued.
Yeah, that's. It's this one right here, and this has. Get my microphone out of the way. This was supposedly the sword that laid in the center. It had all the knights' names engraved on it. Had the motto. You know what they stood for and all that stuff, and they had the crest of Camelot on it and stuff like that. But I don't know what the sword's name was. But that might be an option if we can't come up with anything else, because supposedly Arthur had this laid at the center of the table to kind of remind them of what they were supposed to be fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, it had to not attack one another, to fight for the safety of one's country, to give one's life for one's country, to seek nothing before honor, to never break faith for any reason, to practice religion most diligently, to grant hospitality to anyone. And on the other side, to never do outrage nor murder, to always flee treason, to by no means be cruel but give mercy, to never force ladies, gentlewomen, or widows, to not take up battles in wrongful quarrels, to never lay down arms, to seek after wonders, to defend the rights of the weak, and to injure no one. And that was, and it had every individual knight's crest and their name under it. And like I said, it had the crest of Camelot. So pretty cool sword, but so, like I said, supposedly he had it made to sit at the table. So I don't know if this would fit into what we're doing, but maybe a symbolic sword that kind of ties into what they're doing. Kind of like that might be an idea. Just an idea if we can't come up with anything else.
No, we could just say the runes haven't named the other blades yet.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm going to have to change this line because yet the runes did name them. So we either need 4 more names or we need to say the only one of the others has been named.
Yeah, let me do a little research right quick.
Oh, crap. It's after 9, dude.
Yeah.
We've already gone way over. This may be where we ought to stop for the night so we can research more of these swords. We did 1,500, almost 1,600 words. Not bad. I did not realize the time, how far the time had gotten. Nick Borer, the Sword of the Red Hilt, was Gawain's sword in the Arthurian legend. Yeah, that's what we ought to do is next time when we start next Monday, we should have everybody come together and come up with names for the other 4 swords.
Yep.
Because these swords will show up again in some later books. They're probably all at Avalon if they're not in somebody's hands already.
Well, we know one for sure is already in Avalon. Well, 2, I guess, actually.
Lone Queen says maybe the runes will name them as they find their wielders. That's a good idea. But let's go ahead and stop here for tonight, and we'll pick up here next week, finish out that chapter, and hopefully we can come up with some names for all these swords. We need 4. They don't necessarily have to be historical, but if you could find historical references that tie in to King Arthur or the search for the Holy Grail or even medieval England. Actually, this would be older than medieval England. If you can find historical swords from, the early centuries of Europe and England, yeah, we'd definitely consider those. But if we want to make them all up, we can make them all up. But don't be surprised if those swords don't show up in some later books.
And we need to X out the Sword of David. Can't use that one.
Yeah, don't use that one. We got plans for that one already. So, since it's already after the top of the hour, folks, don't forget to check out our affiliates, the good folks over at Dark Angel Medical. They make the best kits in the business. Don't forget to use discount code CRYPTID20 for 20% off your order. Birthdays in boxes, folks. They've saved 210 lives, and I wouldn't trust my life to any other kit. Also, check out the good folks over at Scallywag Tactical. Some of the best blades you're going to get, and trust me, when you go in the field if you're going to be hunting, fishing, camping, whatever, you want a knife you can rely on. I've bought plenty of cheap knives over the years, and they've always failed when I needed them most. So I would rather spend a little more and get a knife I know is going to last. One in particular that I'm pretty proud of, and I think I've still got it right here on my desk. Yeah, it's right here. You wouldn't think it to look at it because it's held up so good, but I have put this thing through the mill. This is the Dew Claw. They don't even make this one anymore. Look how thick that thing is. This is a perfect little everyday camp knife or just keep it on your belt knife. That and my little crow's nest, I've used the hell out of both of those. Fantastic blades. But check out the good folks at Scallywag Tactical. Use discount code DA Roberts 10 for 10% off your order. And the good folks over at Sigwo Arms. Sigwo Arms, purveyor of fine firearms. Not only are they a firearms manufacturer, they make their own ammunition in-house, and you can get some really good deals. I bought 200 rounds of 9mm hollow point for $54. Believe me, that you can't touch that in most gun shops.
That's a good deal.
It's usually $25 for a box of 20. But they make them all in-house. They make 5.56. They make 300 blackout. They make a lot of calibers. You can check them out on their website, sigwoarms.com. And if you order anything from them, make sure you use discount code Bigfoot5 for 5% off your order. And the reason we selected these affiliates is they're all veteran-owned or first responder-owned, because we're proud to support our veteran first responder-owned businesses. It's something that we're very proud of doing here, and we're going to continue to do it no matter how big the channel gets. That's exactly the kind of thing we want to do, is to continue to give our love and support to those who've put their ass on the line for us. Make sure you're checking out Luca's books and this Maniac's books over here. You can find their books as well as my books on Amazon.com. You can find Luca's on lucatjacobs.com. And hopefully soon I'll have that website done, and then you'll have Robbie's website on there as well. But for now, Rob, you can get all of Robbie's stuff through Amazon.com. You can get all mine at Amazon.com and daroberts.net. And hope you guys check them out, especially with the holidays coming up. Not only are they good reads, they're good Christmas gifts too. If you know anybody that enjoys reading, a book is a great gift. I always loved getting books because usually my parents would ask me to make a list of the books I wanted, and they'd try to get me 4 or 5 of them off that list. And to me, it's a great gift because it's the gift of an adventure. Yep. You get to have an adventure in your mind, and you can relive it again whenever you want to. So don't forget when you're looking, Christmas shopping for those ones you care about, that books are fantastic gifts. And hope you'll check out all the.
My uncle got my writing career kind of kick-started by giving me books. He gave me Doc Savage and Richard Marcinko's Rogue Warrior. That was really the first 2 books that I read that I really, really enjoyed.
Demo Dick's been gone 5 years already.
Yeah,
the dude was larger than life. I didn't expect anything to take him down, but I guess he's not. Nobody's truly immortal. But you did catch that nod I made to him in
The Only Easy Day was yesterday. Yes, I did.
Death and Dyatlov. I didn't say who it was, but I think anybody that's read those books knew exactly who I was describing.
Well, and you've quoted him in your little in the beginning of chapter quotes several times.
Yeah, I love his books. But yeah, folks, a great book. It's an awesome read. And there's a custom in one of the Scandinavian countries. I can't remember which one it was, but every year on Christmas Eve, they exchange books. Everybody gives each other a book, so they have a book to read for the holidays. And I think that is a cool tradition. We got to start that tradition here in the States. I think giving books is a great gift, and it's a great sentiment. And we should all spend more time, enjoying a good story instead of paying attention to all the crap that goes on in the news. In fact, I'd rather read a book than watch the news. But again, check out Lucas' books. Check out Heath Stallcup, the great dude, great writer. Check out, he just released one of the most recent in the Genoskwa series. So check out. Yep, book 5 of the Genosqua series. Check out Heath's books. Check out Robbie's books, and while you're at it, check out mine, because we would certainly love to have you guys reading the stories and sharing the adventures with us. But folks, with this holiday season coming up, with Big Turkey Day coming up on Thursday, I know a lot of us are going to be doing some traveling to spend time with family. Please be careful. Drive safe. You never know when that road could turn icy, especially when now it's getting in cooler weather. Or you also never know how other people are going to drive, because generally that's the worst thing about it is watching out for other people. Heck, there was 2 days in a row this week that my son Nick and I almost broadsided somebody because they just pulled out in front of us and didn't even look. Yeah, two different days back to back. It happened right here in town, and one of them flipped me off when I honked at him and barely avoided hitting him. I mean, I stood on the brakes and I was maybe 3 inches from the side of his car, and I laid on the horn because he just didn't even look and pulled right up in front of me. And when he looked at me, he flipped me off like I was the one at fault. I'm like, you moron! I could have killed you. I was going at road speed. I was doing 40 miles an hour. I damn near didn't get stopped in time. But just folks, be careful. Drive safe, pray for one another, and make sure you remember what this season is truly about. It's about being thankful for all the things we've got. And what I'm thankful for this year is for each and every one of you guys out there. I'm thankful that you guys are part of the family. I'm thankful for the family I've met along this crazy journey, like Robbie and Doc and Steve. I met some amazing folks. There's some of them in the chat tonight. Miss Lene, she's family as far as I'm concerned. Well, there's Harley Dog coming to visit. Casey and Kevin, I've got to hang out with them. Challen Boggs got to hang out with him. Met some amazing people along this journey, and I'm looking forward to see where this journey takes us. So folks, thank you guys so much for being with us, and thank you guys for helping us hit 10K. And thank you for helping us make this story as cool as it is. It's a lot of fun to be able to write like this and share the process with you guys. And I'm having a great time doing it. So, folks, again, be thankful this holiday season. Remember those who may not have quite as much, or those who were suffering from health problems or other issues. And it's a bad time around the holidays, especially for veterans. So reach out to them, check on them, let them know you're thinking about them. As 22 a day is 22 too many. We lose 22 veterans a day to suicide, and that is 22 too many. And the toll that's taken on our men and women in uniform who are first responders is just as high. Look at ODMP Officer Down Memorial page to see some of the stats, and it's mind blowing. So we're happy to support ODMP. We're happy to support Mission 22. 22 a Day Foundation, all of those. Our prayers are with those men and women in uniform, because PTSD is a bastard. Nobody should have to fight it alone. So again, folks, be careful this holiday season. If you're traveling, if you're going to be at home, enjoy the friends, family, and fellowship, and the good food along the way. And we will see you guys on Wednesday night, the night before Turkey Day, as we come back and talking about strange and bizarre and odd things, and hopefully have some great stories to share with you then as well. Robbie, you got anything else you want to toss out there?
Like you said, thank you for the for 10K. Keep them coming. 10K to 25K. That's our next goal. Like DA said, check out Luca's books. Check out mine and his. Check out Heath's books. We all write around the same type of genre. So if you like one of us, you're going to like the others. Also, Nick, if you're still in the chat, don't have your response to what book you wanted from your win the other night on the giveaway show. Other than that, thank you all for joining us. Thanks for the input tonight. It's, this is a project that DA and I are doing with y'all's help, and it's, it kind of started out on just a DA's like, I want to try something different, and it's I like where it's going. I think it's turning out really well, and I think it's something really good that's tying in, like we talked about earlier, is tying in every one of our major series in one way or the other, and I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, it's fun to see where this is taking us. And like I said, like Robbie was saying, Now this is a story we're telling together, so it's a lot of fun to see where this is going, to see the direction it goes, what direction the story takes. Because even I'm surprised where it's going. I mean, this is not necessarily what I thought it would be when I first started it, but to me, that's half the fun is experiencing the story with you guys as we're creating it together. Like I've said before, and I'll say it all the time. Stories are journeys that we take together, and I want to thank each and every one of you for taking that journey with us. Robbie, you want to take us out with a toast tonight?
Sure. This is different from the other one. You don't have to take your hats off, whatever. No matter what you're drinking, though, raise a glass. It goes like this: there are good ships and wooden ships and ships that sail the sea, but the best ships are friendships, and may they always be. Sanjama, we'll see you Wednesday night.
Slanja.
Plains, the winds are howling, saloon doors swinging, shadows growling. Three lawmen stand tough as rawhide. Yeah, Doc DA, nothing can abide. Whiskey shots and poker faces, staring down the darkest spaces in this town where legends roam. These boys bring justice, sending evil home. Cryptid lawmen, wild and free, hunting monsters for all to see. With silver bullets and grit of steel, they fight the darkness, make the demons squeal. From dusty canyons to moonlit plains, justice rides with wind and rains. Cryptid lawmen, a fearsome sight, standing tall against the endless night. Jed's a howler, claws of steel. Doc's a biter, makes a devil real. But DA's a shifty one, a shape-shifting soul. Can turn to anything, takes any form, takes control. Tonight the chupacabras come to town, sucking the life from all around. But these lawmen, they ain't afraid. They'll face the darkness unafraid. Cryptid lawmen, wild and free, hunting monsters for all to see. With silver bullets and grit of steel, they fight the darkness, make the demons squeal. From dusty canyons to moonlit plains, justice rides with wind and rain. Cryptid lawmen, a fearsome sight, standing tall against the endless night. Bat wings flap, the air grows cold, a chill and trap. But these lawmen, they're ready to fight underneath the pale moonlight. Jed and Doc transform with a howl. DA shifts, becomes a night owl. Together they stand, a force so strong against the evil right in the road. Cryptid lawmen, wild and free, hunting monsters for all to see. With silver bullets and grit of steel, they fight the darkness, make the demons squeal. From dusty canyons to moonlit plains, justice rides with wind and rains. Cryptid lawmen, a fearsome sight, standing tall against the endless